Valerie got up from the table in the middle of my birthday dinner, holding her wine glass with that fake elegance she always uses to impress. There were 80 guests that night, 80 people I myself had welcomed into my home, preparing every detail for days. Then she pointed toward my sister, Rose, who had just arrived in a simple dress and with a warm smile, and she shouted in front of everyone. Who would sit next to her at the table? You can tell by her face that she's poor. The silence that followed was so heavy I could feel it in my chest. 80 pairs of eyes fixed on Rose, then on me, then on Valerie. My sister froze in the doorway, the small gift wrapped in plain paper still in her hands. Her face changed from joy to bewilderment, and then to something worse, shame. I wanted to scream. I wanted to defend her. But my son, Kevin, was standing right there next to his wife, and he didn't say anything. Absolutely nothing. Today I am turning 60 years old. 60 years of life, of work, of building everything I have with my own two hands. I bought this house where we are all gathered by myself, after years of cleaning offices and taking care of other people's children while raising my son. Every piece of furniture, every plate on this table, every crystal glass the guests were holding came from my own hard work. Valerie arrived 2 hours ago with Kevin, and from the moment she walked through the door, I knew something was going to happen. She was wearing a black dress that probably cost more than 3 months of my rent. Her makeup was perfect. Her hair was pulled back in a high bun that made her look like she stepped out of some fashion magazine. She was wearing heels so high they made noise against my living room floor with every step. Kevin was walking behind her, wearing a dark suit and a nervous smile. My son. The boy I raised alone after his father left us. The same one who used to hug me and tell me I was the strongest woman in the world. Valerie kissed me on the cheek without actually touching me, leaving only the sound of the kiss hanging in the air. She handed me a large box wrapped in gold paper with a silver bow so big it looked like a Christmas tree ornament. "Happy birthday," she said, with that sweet voice she uses when people are watching. "This is from Kevin and me. We wanted to get you something special." All the guests came closer to see. Rose was standing next to me, smiling, waiting for me to open the gift. My cousins were murmuring excitedly. Even the neighbors stopped their conversations to pay attention. I opened the box slowly. Inside was a thick envelope from a travel agency. I took it out with trembling hands and read, "Caribbean cruise, 15 days, all-inclusive, departure in 2 months." The room exploded in applause and shouts of excitement. My friends hugged me. My cousins yelled about how lucky I was, what a good son I had, how generous he was. Valerie smiled as if she had just won an award. She stood next to me, putting her arm around me in a way that seemed affectionate, but made me feel small. "We just wanted Nancy to have a real vacation," she said loudly so everyone could hear. "She's sacrificed so much in life. She's never known anything nice. She's never left this town. We thought it was time for her to experience something better." Her words sounded beautiful. Everyone nodded, moved. But I felt something strange in my stomach, something I couldn't name yet. "Thank you," I said, my voice a little shaky. It's too much." "Nothing is too much for you," Kevin replied, coming closer to hug me. But his hug felt mechanical, as if he was doing it because he was supposed to, not because he wanted to. The party continued. Valerie moved among the guests as if she were the hostess. She refilled glasses, offered food, smiled, and talked with every person. I stayed in a corner, holding the cruise envelope, feeling like my own birthday wasn't mine anymore. Rose came over and touched my shoulder. "Are you okay?" "Yes," I lied. "I'm just a little overwhelmed." It's an incredible gift, she said, but there was doubt in her voice. Rose always knew me too well. Valerie suddenly appeared next to me with a tray of champagne glasses. Nancy, you should give a toast. It's your birthday. I took a glass, and Valerie raised hers. Attention, everyone, she shouted, and the room fell silent. I want to make a toast to the birthday girl, to Nancy, who has worked so hard her whole life. May she finally rest and enjoy. May she know that now she has someone to take care of her. The last words hit me. May she know that now she has someone to take care of her. As if I were a helpless old woman. As if I couldn't take care of myself anymore. As if I needed her charity. Everyone toasted. Everyone smiled. No one noticed the tension in my jaw. Kevin came closer after the toast. Mum, did you like the gift? Yes, son. It's beautiful. Valerie insisted it had to be something big. She says you deserve it. She insisted? I asked, and something in my tone made Kevin look away. Well, we both decided on it together. But she was the one who found the deal and organized everything. Valerie appeared again, taking Kevin's arm. Did you tell her about the other surprise yet? I felt the air leave my lungs. Another surprise? Yes, Valerie said with a radiant smile. While you're traveling, Kevin and I are going to remodel your house. New kitchen, new bathrooms, new floors, everything. We want you to come back to a completely renovated home. The guests applauded again, but I was paralyzed. Remodel my house. It's our additional gift, Kevin said quickly. Valerie has great taste in these things. It's going to look beautiful. But this is my house, I said in a low voice. Exactly, Valerie replied, and you deserve for it to be nice. Modern. Don't worry about a thing. We'll take care of everything. Something inside me broke right then, but I didn't say anything. I just nodded and smiled because there were 80 people looking at me, expecting me to look happy and grateful. Then Rose arrived. My older sister, the one who took care of me when we were girls, the one who loaned me money when Kevin was a baby and I couldn't pay the rent, the one who was always there, no matter what. Rose arrived in her simple floral dress, no jewelry, no elaborate makeup. She brought her gift wrapped in newspaper decorated with a red bow she had surely saved from another occasion. She arrived with that smile that always made me feel at home, and Valerie looked her up and down with disdain. That was when my daughter-in-law stood up, held her glass, pointed at Rose, and said those words I will never forget. Those words that made all the guests fall silent. Those words that showed me who the woman my son had chosen really was. Who would sit next to her at the table? You can tell by her face that she's poor. Rose remained motionless in the doorway. The gift fell from her hands. I saw how her eyes filled with tears that she refused to shed. I saw how her back hunched slightly, as if she had just been struck. I looked at Kevin, my son, expecting him to say something, to defend his aunt, to put his wife in her place. But Kevin just looked away and took a drink from his glass. Valerie laughed, a soft, almost delicate laugh, as if she had just made a witty joke. Some guests laughed with her, uncomfortably, not knowing what else to do. I got up. I walked toward Rose and hugged her. Don't listen to her, I whispered in her ear. She doesn't know anything. But Rose gently pulled away. I should go. Nancy, I don't want to ruin your party. You're not going to ruin anything. You're staying. Valerie sighed dramatically from her seat. Oh, Nancy, always so noble. But it's true that maybe your sister would be more comfortable somewhere else. This gathering is a little sophisticated for her. I felt something in me snap, something that had been holding on for years, for decades. something that couldn't hold on anymore. But I didn't say anything, not yet, because there were 80 people in my house, because it was my birthday, because Kevin was still looking away, as if none of this was happening. Rose left. She walked out of my house with her head down, and I couldn't stop her because Valerie was already asking that we cut the cake, and everyone moved toward the table, and the party continued as if my sister had never existed. That night, while everyone ate and laughed and celebrated, I sat at my own party, feeling like something terrible had just begun. The party continued as if nothing had happened, as if my sister hadn't just walked out of my own house humiliated, as if Valerie's words hadn't left an open wound in the middle of my living room. Valerie moved among the guests with a glass in her hand, smiling, touching arms, leaning in to listen to conversations. She looked like the perfect hostess. It looked like this was her house, her party, her night. I stayed seated next to the untouched cake, watching my daughter-in-law control every corner of my birthday. "Nancy, aren't you going to eat?" my cousin Ellen asked, coming closer with a plate full. "The cake is delicious." "In a moment," I said, forcing a smile. Valerie appeared behind Ellen and put her hand on my shoulder. "Nancy is a little tired. At this age, long parties can be exhausting." As if 60 years old turned me into a fragile old woman. Ellen nodded sympathetically. "You're right. Nancy, you should rest a bit." "I'm fine," I insisted, but Valerie was already guiding Ellen toward another group of people. Kevin approached with his empty plate. "Mom, the food was incredible, as always." "Thank you, son." He stood there, awkwardly, as if he wanted to say something but didn't know how. Finally, he asked, "Are you happy with the cruise gift?" "Yes." Valerie worked hard to find the best deal. She wanted it to be perfect. He didn't mention anything about Rose. Nothing about how his wife had just humiliated his aunt in front of 80 people. Nothing. "Kevin," I said in a low voice, "what Valerie said to your aunt." "Mum, don't start." His tone changed immediately. He became tense. "Valerie was just kidding. You know how she is." "Kidding?" "Your aunt left crying." "Rose is very sensitive. She's always been that way. Besides, you know Rose sometimes doesn't dress appropriately for these occasions." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Appropriately? She's my sister, Kevin. Your aunt. The woman who took care of you when I had to work double shifts." "I know, Mum, but things are different now. Valerie and I move in other circles. We have to watch our image." "Your image?" I repeated, feeling something bitter in my throat. "Since when do you care more about your image than your family?" Kevin sighed, annoyed. "I don't want to argue on your birthday. I'm going to go see if Valerie needs anything." And he left. My son left me sitting there, with all my questions unanswered and a pain growing in my chest. Valerie took the microphone we had used for music and tapped it gently to get attention. Excuse me. I just want to say a few more words." Everyone quieted down and turned toward her. Valerie stood in the middle of the room, under the main light, as if she were on a stage. "I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate Nancy. I know for many of you it was a bit complicated to get here." She paused and looked around with a condescending smile. "This neighborhood isn't exactly the most accessible." Some guests laughed uncomfortably. I felt the blood rush to my face. This was my neighborhood, the place where I had lived for 30 years, where I had raised my son, where I knew every neighbor by name. "But anyway," Valerie continued, "the important thing is that we're here, celebrating a woman who has worked so hard her whole life. Nancy never had the opportunities many of us had. She never got to go to college. She never got to travel. She never got to afford the luxuries she deserved. Every word was like a punch. She was making my life sound like a failure, as if everything I had achieved was worth nothing. That's why Kevin and I want to make sure her golden years are different, that she can finally live comfortably, that she doesn't have to worry about a thing. Her golden years, as if my life were already ending, as if all I had left was to wait for the end. And we want all of you to know, Valerie said, looking directly at my friends and cousins, that Nancy is no longer alone, that now she has family who can take care of her, that she can lean on us for everything. Applause filled the room. Everyone thought Valerie was wonderful. Everyone believed she was being generous and loving toward her mother-in-law. But I heard something different in her words. I heard control. I heard possession. I heard the real message. Nancy no longer decides for herself. We decide for her now. After the speech, Valerie started organizing who sat where for dinner. She moved my cousin Sam from her spot because that chair has a better view. She told my neighbor Cesar to move because we need to balance the table. She controlled every detail as if it were her house, and no one said anything. Everyone obeyed. I stayed in my seat, feeling like a guest at my own party. My friend Ellen sat down next to me. We have known each other for 20 years. She looked at me worriedly. Nancy, are you okay? You look tired. I'm fine, I lied again. Your daughter-in-law is very active. Yes. Ellen lowered her voice. Did you ask her to organize all this? No. She offered. I see. Ellen didn't say any more, but I saw in her eyes that she understood, that she had noticed the same thing I had. Valerie passed by us and overheard part of the conversation. She sat down on my other side, too close. What are you talking about? Nothing important, Ellen said quickly. Ah. Valerie took my hand and squeezed it. Nancy, I hope you're enjoying your party. I know you're not used to these kinds of elegant events. Elegant events. This was a dinner at my house with my friends and family. It wasn't a gala. It wasn't a business event. It was my birthday. I'm enjoying it, I said, gently pulling my hand away. I'm glad. Valerie smiled and leaned in to whisper in my ear, but she did it loud enough for Ellen to hear. I just want you to know that this is just the beginning. Kevin and I have a lot of plans for you. We're going to make sure your life completely changes. She got up and left before I could answer. Ellen looked at me with wide eyes. Nancy, don't say anything, I asked her. Please. The hours passed slowly. Valerie continued to be the center of attention. She talked about her travels, the expensive restaurants where she ate, the stores where she bought her clothes. My guests listened, fascinated, as if she were a celebrity. Kevin was always by her side, nodding, smiling, adding details to her stories. My son looked different. He looked like someone I didn't know. At one point, I heard Valerie talking with a group of neighbors. Yes, the truth is, when Kevin first brought me to this house, I was a little surprised. But well, Nancy did what she could with what she had. The neighbors didn't know what to say. It was my house, the house I had bought with my money, the house where I had raised my son alone, and she talked about it as if it were a charity case. One of the neighbors, Mr. Lewis, said, "This house has a lot of history. Nancy got it when no one wanted to give her a loan. She worked 3 jobs to pay for it." Valerie smiled in that way I was starting to recognize. That smile that said one thing with her mouth, but another with her eyes. How admirable. That's exactly why we want to renovate it, so it can finally have the value Nancy deserves. Mr. Lewis looked at me, confused. I just looked down. When the guests finally started to leave, Valerie said goodbye to each one at the door as if she were the lady of the house. Thanks for coming. It was a pleasure to meet you. I was putting away dishes in the kitchen, exhausted, when Kevin walked in. Mom, let me help you. It's not necessary. Please. He started collecting glasses. We worked in silence for a moment until he said, Valerie really went to a lot of trouble tonight. I hope you appreciate it. She went to a lot of trouble. The words came out harsher than I intended. Kevin, this was my party. I prepared the food. I invited the people. I cleaned the house. I know, Mum, but Valerie organized everything. The details, the gift, everything. I didn't ask her to organize anything. Kevin put the glasses in the sink harder than necessary. Why do you always have to be like this? Like what? Ungrateful. Valerie is trying to help you, to give you a better life, and you just look for reasons to criticize her. I was speechless. My own son was calling me ungrateful in my own kitchen, after my own birthday, for not accepting his wife's control. I'm not being ungrateful, I finally said. I'm trying to understand what's going on. What's going on is that you finally have family who can take care of you, that you can stop working so much, that you can relax. I don't want to stop working. I like my job. Kevin sighed, as if he were talking to a stubborn child. Mum, you're 60 years old. It's time for others to make the important decisions. Those words hung in the air between us. It's time for others to make the important decisions. As if I were no longer capable. As if my age had made me incompetent. Valerie walked into the kitchen. Is everything okay here? Yes, Kevin said quickly. We were just talking. Valerie looked at me with that smile. Nancy, you should go to sleep. You look exhausted. Kevin and I will finish cleaning. It's my house, I said. I clean my house. Don't be silly. Valerie laughed and took the cleaning cloth from my hands. You've done enough. Go rest. I stood there, holding my own empty hands, feeling like I had just lost something important, but unable to name exactly what it was. Kevin and Valerie gently pushed me out of my own kitchen. I went to my room and closed the door. I sat on my bed, still in my party dress, and looked around my room. The pictures of Kevin when he was a child, the diplomas of his achievements, the memories of a life I had built alone, and for the first time in 60 years, I felt like a stranger in my own house. The guests left an hour ago. The house is silent. From my room, I hear Kevin and Valerie talking in the living room, their voices low but constant. I can't make out the words, but the tone is one of planning, of decisions, of things being arranged without asking me. I take off my party dress and put on my old nightgown, the one with a small hole in the hem, but which is the most comfortable one I have. I look at myself in the mirror and see a tired woman. A woman who just turned 60 and who somehow lost control of her own life in a single night. I knock on the living room door before entering. Kevin and Valerie are sitting on my couch, surrounded by papers. I recognize some of them. They are the cruise brochures, renovation catalogues, documents that shouldn't be in my house without my permission. Mum, Kevin says, looking up. I thought you were asleep. I need to talk to you. Valerie quickly gathers the papers, as if she doesn't want me to see them. Nancy, it's late. Can't it wait until tomorrow? No, it can't wait. Kevin sighs and motions to Valerie. She gets up, gives me a kiss on the cheek I didn't ask for, and says, I'll leave you two to talk. I'll finish cleaning up the kitchen. When she leaves, I sit across from my son. I bought this couch 15 years ago. I still remember the day I brought it home, how Kevin helped me carry it up the stairs. He was just a boy then, full of laughter and plans. What did you want to talk about? Kevin asks, but his tone is already defensive. Your Aunt Rose. Kevin closes his eyes. Mum, please. Valerie humiliated her in front of everyone, and you didn't say anything. Valerie didn't humiliate her. It was an unfortunate comment. Unfortunate. I feel my voice tremble, but I force myself to keep it firm. She shouted that she was poor, that no one would want to sit next to her, in my house, on my birthday. Kevin rubs his face with his hands. Rose arrived dressed, however. She didn't make any effort. Valerie was just pointing out something obvious. Rose arrived with her heart, with a gift that probably cost her a lot to buy, with love. Love doesn't pay the bills, Mum. Kevin looks at me, and I see something in his eyes that scares me. Coldness. Valerie and I are building something. We have important contacts, people who can help us grow. We can't afford to be seen associated with people who aren't at our level. At your level, Kevin, Rose is your family. She took care of you when you were a baby. She fed you when I didn't have money to buy milk. And I appreciate it. But things change. You changed, I say, feeling a pain in my chest. Yes, you changed. Kevin gets up and walks toward the window. I didn't come here to fight with you. I came to celebrate your birthday, to give you an incredible gift. Why can't you just be grateful? I am grateful for the gift, but I'm not grateful for how Valerie treated my sister, for how she treated me. Valerie treated you like a queen tonight. Valerie treated me as if I were incapable of managing my own life. Kevin turns around abruptly. Because you are. Mum, look at you. You live in this old house, in this dangerous neighborhood. You work cleaning houses at 60 years old. You don't have savings. You don't have a retirement plan. If Valerie and I don't intervene, what is going to happen to you? Every word is a blow. This house isn't old. It's my home. This neighborhood isn't dangerous. It's where I built my life. And I work because I like to work, because it gives me independence. It gives you poverty, Kevin says, and his voice is harsh. Mum, you have to face reality. You can't keep living like this. It's time for you to accept help. I don't want their help if it comes with humiliation. There are no humiliations. There is only honesty. Valerie says things as they are, and how they are according to her, that I'm old, that I'm incapable, that my sister is poor and doesn't deserve to sit at my table. Kevin takes a deep breath, trying to calm down. Mum, I'm not going to argue this with you. Valerie and I make decisions thinking about your well-being, the cruise, the remodeling, everything. We do it because we love you. Do you love me or do you want to control me? That is ridiculous. Is it? Tell me, Kevin, did I ask you to remodel my house? No, but you need it. Did I ask Valerie to organize my party? She wanted to help. Did I ask you to decide about my life without consulting me? Kevin stays silent. Valerie appears at the living room entrance. I don't know how long she has been standing there listening. Nancy, she says with a soft, almost maternal voice, I understand this is difficult for you. Change always is, especially at your age. At my age, I repeat. Valerie, I'm 60 years old, not 80. I don't need to be taken care of like a child. Valerie sits on the arm of the couch, next to Kevin. She puts her hand on my son's shoulder, claiming her territory. No one is treating you like a child. We are offering you a better life, a more comfortable life. I don't want comfort if I have to lose my dignity. Dignity? Valerie laughs softly. Nancy, what dignity is there in working cleaning other people's toilets at 60 years old? What dignity is there in living in a house that is falling apart? This house isn't falling apart, and my work is honest. Honest, but exhausting, unnecessary. Valerie leans forward. Kevin and I earn enough money for all three of us. You don't have to keep sacrificing yourself. I'm not sacrificing myself. I'm living my life. A very small life, Valerie says, and her tone is almost compassionate, which makes it hurt more. But don't worry. We're going to expand it. We're going to give you everything you never had. I don't want everything I never had. I want respect. Kevin separates us. Stop, both of you. Mum, you're tired. Valerie, let's go. We'll continue this conversation another day. No, I say, standing up too. We are not going to continue this conversation another day. We are going to end it now. This is my house. I decide if it gets remodeled or not. I decide if I accept gifts or not. I decide how I live my life. Valerie exchanges a look with Kevin, a look that says a lot without words, a look that completely excludes me. Nancy, Valerie says slowly, I think you're being a little irrational. The stress of the party, the excitement of the birthday, it's understandable. That's exactly why it's good that Kevin and I are here, to make sensible decisions when you can't, when I can't. I move closer to her. Valerie, I have been making decisions my whole life, decisions that kept a roof over my head and food on the table, decisions that raised a son alone. Don't you dare tell me I can't decide. Things were different before, Kevin says. You were younger, more capable. I'm 60 years old, not 90. My mind is perfectly clear. Valerie stands up and picks up her purse. All right, Nancy. If that's how you feel, I'll respect your space. But think about it. Think about the cruise, about having a renovated house, about not having to work anymore, about finally being able to rest. I don't need to think about it. I already know what I want. And what do you want? Kevin asks. And there is a challenge in his voice. I want you to respect my decisions. I want you to treat me like an adult. I want you to understand that this is my life, not yours. Kevin shakes his head. I can't do that, Mum. I can't stand idly by watching you waste your golden years working like a slave. I'm not a slave. I'm an independent woman. You're a stubborn woman, Valerie says, but eventually you're going to need us. And when that happens, I hope you remember this conversation. They leave without a proper goodbye. Kevin gives me a quick, mechanical hug. Valerie doesn't even look at me. I hear their footsteps going down the stairs, the building door closing. I stay alone in my living room. I look at the papers they left on the table. I pick them up one by one. The cruise brochure has a price marked $12,000. The renovation catalogues have pages turned down to kitchens that cost $30,000, bathrooms that cost $15,000. Huge numbers. Expenses I could never afford. Gifts that come with invisible chains. I go to my room and lie down, but I can't sleep. I look at the ceiling and think about how in a single night my life changed. About how my son, the boy I raised with so much love, now talks to me as if I were a problem to be solved. I think about Rose, about how she walked out of my house humiliated and I didn't defend her enough, about how I allowed Valerie to turn my birthday into her stage. I think about Kevin's words. You were younger, more capable. As if turning 60 had made me useless. As if my value as a person had an expiration date. I get up and go to the small desk in the corner of my room. I take out my ledger, the one I've been keeping for 30 years. I review my numbers. My house is paid for. I have some savings. Not a lot, but enough. I work 4 houses a week, deep cleaning. I earn enough to live, to pay my utilities, to have food and clothing. I'm not rich, but I'm not the desperate woman Valerie and Kevin want me to be either. I close the ledger and look out the window. The sunrise is beginning to break on the horizon. My neighborhood is waking up. Mr. Lewis is going out to sweep his entrance. The lady on the 3rd floor is taking out her dog. Life continues, simple and real. And I am here, in my house, in my life, trying to understand how my own son became a stranger. I take my phone and dial Rose's number. It rings several times before she answers. Nancy. Her voice sounds tired, as if she hadn't slept either. Rose, forgive me, for not defending you, for letting her talk to you like that. There is a long silence. Then I hear Rose take a deep breath. You don't have to apologize. It's not your fault. Yes, it is. It's my house, my family. I should have put Valerie in her place. Kevin is your son. You didn't want to ruin your birthday. My birthday was already ruined the moment she opened her mouth. Rose laughs softly, but it's a sad laugh. That woman doesn't care about you, Nancy. I don't know what she wants, but it's not your well-being. I know, and Kevin. Kevin is blinded by her. Be careful, Rose says. There was something about the way she looked at you tonight. Something that scared me. Me too. We talk a little more. We plan to see each other soon. We say goodbye with promises not to let anyone separate us. But when I hang up, the fear Rose mentioned stays with me. Because she is right. There is something about Valerie. Something calculated. Something dangerous. And my son is completely under her control. 5 days have passed since my birthday. 5 days in which Kevin hasn't called me even once. 5 days in which I tried to concentrate on my work, on my routine, on maintaining normality. But nothing feels normal anymore. Today I have to go to the bank. I need to make a deposit from this week's pay and check the status of my savings account. It's something I do every month, religiously, for years. I like to know how much I have, how much I spend, how much I can save. The bank is a 20-minute walk from my house. It's a cool morning and the streets are full of people going to work. I like to walk. It gives me time to think, to breathe, to feel part of the world. I enter the bank and take my number. There are several people waiting. I sit in one of the blue plastic chairs and take out my papers. The deposit slip, my ID, the notebook where I write everything down. Then I see her. Valerie. She is on the other side of the bank, in the executive section, talking with one of the managers. She is wearing a beige suit and high heels. Her hair is perfectly styled. She looks like she belongs in this place, as if the entire bank were her personal office. I try to make myself small in my chair, to become invisible, but it's too late. Valerie looks up and sees me. Her expression changes. A smile spreads across her face, but it's not a kind smile. It's a smile of opportunity. She walks over slowly, her heels echoing on the marble floor. The manager comes with her. A young man in a grey suit and a red tie. He looks uncomfortable. Nancy, Valerie says in a loud voice, too loud. What a surprise to find you here. I stand up. Valerie, good morning. You came alone? She looks around as if she were looking for someone. Kevin didn't come with you. I don't need anyone to come with me. I just came to make a deposit. Valerie exchanges a look with the manager. Ah, of course. It's just that sometimes these procedures can be confusing, especially for people who aren't used to managing finances. The manager shifts uncomfortably. Some people in the nearby chairs start to look. I manage my finances perfectly, I say in a low voice, trying to keep this private. Of course you do, Valerie says, but her tone suggests the opposite. It's just that Kevin mentioned that sometimes you get confused with the numbers, that you save old receipts, that you keep everything in a notebook instead of using the bank's app. I prefer my notebook. I've always kept my accounts that way. Valerie puts her hand on my shoulder. The gesture seems affectionate, but her grip is firm. I know. But things have changed, Nancy. Technology advances. The old methods aren't safe anymore. My methods work fine. They work. Valerie laughs softly and looks at the manager. Tell me, Mr. Darrell, isn't it true that older people are the most vulnerable to bank fraud or errors in their accounts? The manager, Darrell Smith, according to his badge, clears his throat. Well, it's true that we recommend our senior clients have someone trustworthy reviewing their transactions. I'm not an incapable senior, I say, feeling the heat rise to my face. I'm 60 years old, and I've managed my money my whole life. Of course, Valerie says, with that condescending tone I already recognize too well. No one says you're incapable, just that it would be more prudent to have help. In fact, Kevin and I were thinking that maybe we should add ourselves to your account for emergencies, to be able to help you if you need anything. I am paralyzed. Add themselves to my account as co-owners. It's common in families, especially when parents start to age. I'm not aging. I don't need co-owners. Valerie sighs as if she were dealing with a stubborn child. Nancy, think about it. What if you get sick? If you have an emergency and can't get to the bank? If Kevin and I have access to your account, we could help you immediately. If I have an emergency, I'll take care of it myself. With how much? The question comes out fast, sharp. Valerie looks directly into my eyes. Forgive the question, but how much do you really have saved? That's none of your business. I'm your family, of course it's my business. Valerie turns back to the manager. Mr. Smith, could you verify the balance of Mrs. Palmer's account, just so we can evaluate her financial situation and help her better? No, I say immediately. You do not have my permission to do that. The manager nods. We would need your authorization, Mrs. Palmer. You don't have it. You won't have it. Valerie laughs again. That soft laugh that makes everything I say sound ridiculous. Nancy, don't be paranoid. We just want to help. I don't need your help. Around us, more people are watching. An older lady watches me with pity. A young man with headphones looks at us curiously. I feel exposed, humiliated. Again. Look, Valerie says, lowering her voice a little, but not enough. I know this is difficult for you. Admitting you need help always is. But let's be realistic. You work cleaning houses. You earn, what, $200 a week? $300. That's not your problem. It is my problem when I see my husband's mother living in poverty, when I know she doesn't have enough for a medical emergency, when I know that if something happens, Kevin and I are going to have to pay for everything. I haven't asked you to pay for anything. Not yet. But you will. Valerie moves closer. And when that moment comes, wouldn't it be better if we already had things organized? That we could access your account to manage your expenses, to make sure your money is used correctly. My money is already used correctly. I use it. You? Valerie looks at my clothes, my worn shoes, my old purse. Nancy, no offense, but it doesn't look like you know very well how to use your money. If you did, you wouldn't be wearing clothes from 10 years ago. I feel something break inside me. These clothes are perfectly fine. For someone with no standards, maybe. Valerie turns back to the manager. Mr. Smith, does the bank offer financial planning services for seniors? I think my mother-in-law could benefit from a consultation. Yes, we offer that service, the manager says, clearly uncomfortable with the whole situation. Perfect. Could you schedule an appointment for us? For Mrs. Palmer, my husband Kevin, and me. We want to make sure her finances are in order. I'm not going to any appointment, I say firmly. Nancy, you're being irrational. I'm being clear. I don't want your help. I don't want your intervention. I want you to let me manage my own life. Valerie looks at me for a long moment. The smile disappears from her face. What is left is something cold, calculating, dangerous. All right, she finally says. If that's how you want to play, I'll respect it. For now. She turns around and returns to her meeting with the manager. I stay there standing, trembling, feeling all the eyes on me. When my number is called, I walk to the teller window with weak legs. The teller smiles kindly at me. Good morning, Mrs. Palmer. How can I help you? I need to make a deposit and check my balance. She processes the deposit quickly. Then she hands me the receipt with the current balance. $3,200. It's not much, but it's mine. Every penny earned with my work, with my effort. Anything else? The teller asks. Yes, I want to make sure no one else can access my account. Only me. The teller nods. Your account is already solely under your name. Would you like to add any additional protection? What kind of protection? We can put a security note. That requires a special password for any change to the account, that notifies any attempt to add co-owners. Yes, please, do that. While the teller processes the request, I look over to where Valerie is. She is looking this way. Our eyes meet. She smiles. I don't. I leave the bank with my papers pressed against my chest. The cool air hits my face, and I take a deep breath. My hands are still trembling. I walk fast, wanting to get away from there, but I hear footsteps behind me, heels on the pavement. Nancy, wait. It's Valerie. She catches up to me and walks beside me. Leave me alone, I tell her without stopping. I can't do that. You're family. You are not my family. You are my son's wife. There's a difference. Valerie takes my arm and forces me to stop. We are in the middle of the street, with people passing around us. Listen to me carefully, she says, and her voice now has nothing sweet about it. I know what you're doing. I know you put protections on your account. Mr. Smith is our friend. He tells us everything. I don't care. It's my account. My money. For now. Valerie lets go of me but steps closer. But things are going to change. Nancy, whether you like it or not, Kevin and I have plans. Plans that include making sure you are well taken care of. I don't want to be taken care of. It's not an option. Kevin is your only son, your only real family. What are you going to do? Stay alone? Grow old alone in that house that is falling apart? My house isn't falling apart. Not yet, but eventually it will. And when that happens, when you can no longer work, when you can no longer take care of yourself, you're going to come crawling to us asking for help. Never, Valerie laughs. Everyone says that, until they get sick, until they fall down, until they realize they can't do it alone. I'd rather die alone than live under your control. How dramatic! Valerie takes out her car keys. But that's fine. Play the independent woman all you want. Eventually, reality will catch up to you. And when it does, I hope you remember this conversation, that you remember you had the chance to do this the easy way. She walks away toward her car, a shiny black Mercedes parked in a preferential zone. She gets in, starts the engine, and drives away without looking back. I stay there standing on the sidewalk, with people passing me by, feeling like I've just had an encounter with something much more dangerous than I thought. It's not just control Valerie wants, it's ownership. She wants to possess me. She wants me to depend completely on her and Kevin. She wants to eliminate any vestige of my independence. And the scariest thing is that she has my son completely on her side. I take out my phone with trembling hands and call Rose. Nancy, are you okay? No, I'm not okay. I need to see you now. I'm coming to your house. No, better we meet at your apartment. I don't feel safe in my own house anymore. There is a silence. Then Rose says with a shaky voice, I'll wait for you here. Come quick. I hang up and start walking toward the bus stop. I look back once, twice, 3 times, half expecting to see the black Mercedes following me. But there is no one. Just the weight of the conversation, the veiled threats, the certainty that something terrible is starting to unfold. And I am trapped in the middle of it all, trying to defend a life I built with my own 2 hands against 2 people who believe they have the right to take it. Rose welcomes me at the door of her apartment with eyes full of concern. She hugs me tightly, and for the first time in days, I feel like I can breathe. Her house smells like fresh coffee, and the flowers she always has in the kitchen window. Sit down, she says, guiding me to the sofa. You look terrible. I feel terrible. She makes me a coffee and sits across from me. I tell her everything. The encounter at the bank, Valerie's words, the barely disguised threats. Rose listens without interrupting, but I see her expression harden with every detail. That woman is planning something, she says when I finish. Something big. I know, but I don't know what to do. Have you talked to Kevin? What for? He is completely blinded by her. He doesn't listen to me. Rose takes my hand. Nancy, you have to protect yourself. Protect your assets, your house, your money. I already put protections on my bank account. That's a start. But you need more. You need an updated will, documents that protect your property, maybe even talk to a lawyer. The idea of needing a lawyer to protect myself from my own son breaks my heart, but Rose is right. I don't have money for expensive lawyers, I say. I know someone, a friend's nephew. He does free consultations. I can ask him to see you. I nod, grateful. We spend the rest of the afternoon talking, planning, trying to find ways to protect myself. But deep down, we both know that the real problem can't be solved with legal papers. The real problem is that I lost my son. When I return to my house at nightfall, there is an envelope under my door. I pick it up with trembling hands. It is thick, official. Inside there are documents, many documents. I read them once, twice, trying to understand the legal terminology, but the words eventually become clear. They are papers to transfer the property of my house, to put it in Kevin's name, with a handwritten letter attached from Valerie. Dear Nancy, the letter says. After our conversation today, Kevin and I have been thinking a lot about your situation. We believe the best thing for everyone would be for the house to be in Kevin's name. That way, when you can no longer live alone, there will be no legal complications. We can sell it easily and use the money to pay for your care in an appropriate residence. You just need to sign where the yellow marks are. Kevin will stop by tomorrow to pick up the papers. We hope you understand that this is for your own good. Affectionately, Valerie and Kevin. I sit on the floor of my living room with the papers in my hands. This house, my house, the one I bought alone after years of work, the one I paid for cent by cent, the one filled with memories of raising Kevin. They want me to sign it over as if it were trash. I call Kevin immediately. He answers on the third ring. Mom. Kevin, you know about these papers. Yes, Valerie told me we left them for you. Left them for you? Kevin, these are documents to take my house away from me. We're not taking it away. We're just putting it in a safer place. Safer? It's my house. Mum, please don't start again. Don't start what? You're trying to rob me. No one is robbing you. We are planning your future, a future where you are well taken care of. I don't want you to plan my future. I plan my own future. Kevin sighs, tired. I'm not going to argue this over the phone. I'll stop by your house tomorrow. We can talk then. There's nothing to talk about. I'm not signing those papers. Mum. No, Kevin. Not this time. This is my line. My house is mine. And neither you nor your wife are going to take it from me. There is a long silence. When Kevin speaks again, his voice is cold, distant. All right, if that is your decision. But I want you to know something. Valerie and I have been paying many of your expenses without you knowing. The roof repair last year, the heating repairs, the gifts you thought were yours. Everything came out of our pocket. I never asked you to pay for anything. You didn't have to ask. We did it because we are family. But if you're going to be like this, if you're going to reject our help, then maybe it's time for you to start paying your own bills. I have always paid my own bills. Oh, yeah. Then I hope you have money saved. Because from now on, Valerie and I are not going to subsidize your life anymore. The word subsidize hits me like a slap, as if I were a burden, a charity project. I don't need your subsidy, I say, although my voice trembles. Good. We'll see each other tomorrow then. Or not. It's up to you. He hangs up before I can answer. I stay sitting on the floor of my living room, surrounded by papers that want to steal my house, with my son's words echoing in my head. I take the documents and tear them up, one by one, slowly, with rage, with pain. The pieces fall around me like dirty snow, then I call Rose again. I need that lawyer, I tell her, and I need him now. Kevin arrives at my house the next day, exactly at 10 o'clock in the morning. Valerie comes with him. I see them from the window, getting out of the black Mercedes, walking toward my building as if they owned the world. I touch the torn papers that I saved in a bag. My small act of rebellion, my way of saying no. When they knock on the door, I take a deep breath before opening it. Kevin walks in first, Valerie behind. Neither of them greets me with a kiss. Neither of them asks how I am. Where are the papers? Valerie asks immediately. Here. I take out the bag and put it on the table. The torn pieces spill out when I open it. Valerie looks at the destroyed documents and her face transforms. The mask of kindness completely disappears. What remains is pure fury. What did you do? What I had to do. Protect what is mine. Kevin approaches the table and picks up some pieces. Mum, those documents cost money. Time. They were important. They were a robbery. It wasn't a robbery, Valerie says, her voice controlled. Dangerous. It was protection, but clearly you don't understand the difference. I understand perfectly. You understand that you want to take my house and put an old woman in a retirement home. Residence, Valerie corrects. Not a retirement home. A nice residence where you would have everything you need. What I need is my house, my independence, my life. Valerie laughs, but there is no humor in the sound. Your life. Look at your life, Nancy. You work cleaning toilets. You live alone in this old apartment. You don't have real friends and just that poor sister who also has nothing. That's what you call life. It is my life. And it's enough. It's not. And if you don't see it, then you really need help. Professional help. What does that mean? Kevin intervenes. Valerie and I have been talking. We think maybe you should see a doctor, a specialist, to evaluate your mental capacity. The words hit me like stones. My mental capacity. Mum, you're acting irrationally, destroying important documents, rejecting help, being paranoid. I'm not paranoid. You are trying to control me. We are trying to help you, Valerie says. But if you can't see that, then maybe there really is a cognitive problem. Maybe age is affecting your judgment. I'm 60 years old, not 80. My mind is perfectly clear. Then prove it, Valerie says. Sign the papers. Agree to move in with us. Let us take care of you properly. Move in with them. They hadn't even mentioned it before. Kevin looks away. It's something we were considering. We have room in our house. You could have your own bedroom. A bedroom? I have an entire house here. A house you can't maintain, Valerie says. Kevin, show her. Kevin takes out his phone and shows me photos. Photos of my house. The roof with a damp stain. The peeling paint in the bathroom. The window that doesn't close properly. When did you take these photos? On your birthday, while you were distracted with the guests. I feel betrayed. You were spying on my house. Documenting its condition, Valerie corrects, to show you that it needs repairs you can't afford. The roof alone is going to cost about $5,000 to fix. Do you have $5,000, Nancy? I can get it. How? Working more? At your age? Valerie shakes her head. Let's be realistic. This house is falling apart. You can't maintain it. The sensible thing would be to sell it, move in with us, and use the money for your future care. I'm not going to sell my house. Then it's going to keep deteriorating, until eventually the city declares it uninhabitable, and then you won't have a choice. You're lying. I'm being honest, something you clearly can't handle. Kevin sits on my couch and puts his head in his hands. Mum, please. This doesn't have to be this way. We can resolve everything easily if you just trust us. Trust? Kevin, you're blackmailing me. You're threatening me. You're treating me as if I were incompetent. Why are you acting incompetent? Valerie says abruptly. A competent woman would understand that her children only want the best for her. She would accept help gracefully. You're not help. You're chains. Valerie walks to the door and opens it. Kevin, bring the boxes from the car. What boxes? The boxes to pack your mother's things. Since she won't cooperate, we're going to have to do this another way. You are not packing anything. You are not touching my things. Kevin doesn't move. He looks at Valerie, then at me, clearly divided. Kevin, Valerie says with a voice of steel, go get the boxes. Valerie, maybe we should go get the boxes. Kevin slowly stands up and leaves the apartment. I stay alone with Valerie. You have no right, I tell her. This is my house. For now, Valerie says, moving closer to me. But I'm going to explain to you how things are going to be. Nancy, you are going to sign new papers. You are going to transfer this house to Kevin's name. You are going to move in with us, and you are going to stop making scenes. Or what? Or we are going to have to take legal action. We are going to prove that you are not competent to live alone. We have photos of the house. We have testimonies that you destroy important documents. We can get a doctor to certify that you need supervision. You're crazy if you think that's going to work. I'm not crazy. I'm prepared. Valerie takes out her phone and shows me more photos. Photos of me. At the bank, arguing with her. In the street. In old clothes. In my house, with the garbage not taken out. I have all the evidence I need to portray you as an elderly woman who cannot take care of herself. Those photos are taken out of context. And who do you think is going to care? A judge is going to see a 60-year-old woman living in poverty, refusing help from her family. They are going to see a loving son worried about his mother. Who do you think they are going to believe? I feel dizzy. This is more than control. It's a complete plan. Calculated. Cruel. Kevin returns with 2 large boxes. He puts them on the floor and looks at me with pleading eyes. Mom, please, make it easy. No. Then we'll make it difficult, Valerie says. She starts picking up my things. My photos. My books. My memories. Stop. I try to take the things away from her, but she pushes me aside. Kevin, help me. Kevin remains standing, motionless. For a moment, I think he is going to defend me, that he is going to stop this madness. But he doesn't. He starts packing too. I watch them fill the boxes with my life, with my belongings, with everything I am, and I can't stop them. I am a lone woman against 2 people who have decided that my life no longer belongs to me. This is illegal, I say with a broken voice. You are breaking into my house and stealing my things. We are not stealing, Valerie says. We are protecting. And when the authorities come, if they come, we're going to show them that an elderly mother was being cared for by her loving family, that she was confused, violent, paranoid. I'm none of that. You will be when we finish. Valerie closes a full box and starts on another. Because that's what people are going to believe. An old woman, scared, losing her mind. It's the easiest story to sell. I watch Kevin pack the photo of his graduation, the photo of him as a baby in my arms, the memories of a life we shared. Kevin, I say to him, please, I'm your mother. He doesn't look at me. He just keeps packing. Half an hour later, they leave. They carry 3 boxes filled with my things. Valerie leaves a paper on the table. The new papers, she says. You have 1 week to sign them, or we proceed with the mental evaluation. You decide. The door closes behind them. I stay alone in my living room, which now looks empty, stripped, violated. I slide to the floor and for the first time in years, I cry. I cry for my lost son, for my violated house, for my life that is being ripped from my hands. But somewhere deep down, beneath the pain, something else starts to grow. Rage and determination. I didn't go back to my house that night. I couldn't. The apartment felt contaminated, violated. It was no longer my refuge. It was the place where my son and his wife had shown me that I no longer had control over anything. I called Rose from the corner of my street. She picked me up in her old car, the one that is 20 years old, but that she keeps impeccable. She didn't ask questions when she saw me with just my purse. She just opened the door of her house and let me in. Stay as long as you need, she simply said. That first night I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake on Rose's sofa, looking at the ceiling, reviewing every moment, every word, every threat. Valerie had planned everything meticulously: the photos, the documents, the lies about my mental capacity. And Kevin, my son, had been there, packing my things, stealing my life, without saying a word in my defense. "Do you want me to call the police?" Rose asked at 3 o'clock in the morning, finding me awake. "What for? They'll say it's a family matter, that Kevin has the right to help his mother. They won't understand." "Then the lawyer, tomorrow morning." I nodded. It was the only thing I could do. The lawyer's name was Louis Valley. He was young, maybe 35 years old, with thick glasses and a small office in a modest building. When I told him my story, he took careful notes. "Do you have the deed to your house?" he asked. "Yes, in my safe deposit box at the bank." "Good. As long as that deed is in your name and you don't sign anything, the house is legally yours. No one can take it away from you." "And if they try to declare me incompetent?" Louis took off his glasses and cleaned them. "It's harder than they think. They would need a real medical evaluation. A judge, solid evidence. Some photos and accusations aren't enough. But they could try. They could. That's why you need to protect yourself. We are going to draw up a clear will, a limited power of attorney only for proven medical emergencies, and documentation of everything that is happening. I don't have much money to pay. This is pro bono, Mrs. Palmer. Your sister told me about your situation. No one should have to go through this." We spent 3 hours in his office. I signed documents, declarations. I clearly established that my house, my money, everything is mine. That no one had the right to make decisions for me unless I was medically incapacitated and only with certification from 2 independent doctors. When I left there, I felt a little stronger, a little more protected. The days passed slowly at Rose's house. She worked part-time at a fabric store, and I stayed alone during those hours, thinking, planning, trying to understand how I had reached this point. Kevin called 3 times. He left messages. "Mum, we need to talk. Mum, this is ridiculous. Mum, Valerie is worried about you." I didn't return his calls. Valerie also called. Once. Her message was short and cold. "Nancy, the week is almost over. You know what you have to do. Don't force us to take more drastic measures." Rose found me crying after that message. "Don't give them the satisfaction," she said. "Don't give them your fear. And what if they really try to declare me incompetent? Then we fight, with everything we have." One afternoon, 2 weeks after moving in with Rose, I was making dinner when someone knocked on the door. It was a woman I didn't know, young with a clipboard. "Mrs. Nancy Palmer?" "Yes. I have a summons for you. From Kevin Palmer and Valerie Lozano." I took the paper with trembling hands. It was a legal request for a mental competency evaluation to determine if I was capable of making my own decisions. The hearing date was in 3 weeks. Rose read the document over my shoulder. "Sons of a—" "Let's call Louis," I said, my voice trembling but firm. Louis reviewed the summons that same night at Rose's house. "It's expected, but it's also weak. They don't have real evidence, just accusations." "And what do we do?" "We prepare. We are going to get our own medical evaluations, letters from people who know you, evidence that you are completely competent, and we are going to counterattack with documentation of the harassment." The following weeks were a whirlwind. I visited my doctor, who wrote a letter certifying that I was in perfect mental condition. My neighbors signed statements about my character. My employers, the women I cleaned for, wrote about my responsibility and competence. Louis built a solid case, but the fear was still there, vibrating in my chest every morning. The night before the hearing, Rose and I sat in her small living room. She made tea, and we stayed in silence for a long time. "What if I lose?" I finally asked. "You're not going to lose." "But what if I lose, Rose? If the judge decides Kevin and Valerie are right?" "It's not going to happen." Rose took my hand. "But even if it did happen, you're not alone. You will never be alone." That simple promise broke me. I cried in my sister's arms like I hadn't cried in years, for everything lost, for everything broken, for the son I no longer recognized. "How did we get here?" I whispered. "How did my son become this?" "It wasn't your fault," Rose said. "Valerie changed him. She manipulated him. But the Kevin you raised is still there. Maybe one day he'll wake up." "And what if he doesn't wake up?" Rose didn't answer, because we both knew that was a real possibility. The morning of the hearing, I dressed in my best clothes, a simple but dignified suit that Rose helped me choose. I carefully did my hair. I put on light makeup. I wanted to look like what I was, a competent, dignified woman, in control of her faculties. In the courtroom, I saw Kevin and Valerie for the first time in weeks. They were sitting on the other side with their own lawyer, an older man in an expensive suit. Kevin didn't look me in the eye. Valerie did. She smiled at me, a small, victorious smile, as if she had already won. The judge was a woman in her 50s with a serious expression. She listened to the arguments from both sides. Kevin's lawyer presented the photos, the testimonies that I had acted erratically, the accusations of paranoia. Louis presented our medical evaluations, the letters from neighbors and employers, the documentation of the harassment, the boxes stolen from my house. The judge asked questions, to me, to Kevin, to the doctors. When it was my turn to speak directly, I stood in front of the judge and told the truth. "I'm not crazy. I'm not confused. I'm just a woman defending her right to live her own life. My son and his wife want to control me, not help me, and I refuse to allow it." The judge took notes. She reviewed documents. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, she spoke. "After reviewing all the evidence, I find no reason to declare Mrs. Palmer incompetent. The medical evaluations are clear. Her testimony is coherent. Case dismissed." I felt my legs give out. Rose held me. Louis smiled. On the other side of the room, Valerie stood up abruptly. "This is a mistake. She is clearly say—" "Mrs. Lozano," the judge interrupted in a firm voice, "my decision is final, and I suggest you stop harassing Mrs. Palmer, or you will face legal consequences." Valerie opened her mouth to protest, but her lawyer stopped her. We left the courtroom. Rose hugged me tightly. Louis congratulated me. I only felt a strange numbness. I had won, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like survival. Kevin caught up to me on the courthouse stairs. "Mom, wait." I turned around. My son looked tired, defeated, but not remorseful. "What do you want, Kevin? This didn't have to go this far." "You're right. It didn't. But you pushed it this far." "Valerie just wanted—" "I don't care what Valerie wanted. I care that you, my son, tried to declare me incompetent, that you tried to steal my house, my life. It wasn't stealing. It was protecting. It was control. And you failed." Kevin looked down. "I don't know what else to say." "There's nothing else to say." I turned around and walked toward Rose's car. I didn't look back. That night, at my sister's house, I allowed myself to feel the relief, the victory, the freedom. But I also felt the loss. Because even though I had won the legal battle, I had lost my son. And that loss hurt more than anything Valerie could have done to me. 6 months passed since the hearing. 6 months in which I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I returned to my house after Louis verified there were no further legal attempts. Rose helped me clean, reorganize, and make the space feel like mine again. I hired someone to fix the roof. It cost $4,000. Not $5,000, as Valerie had said. I paid for it with my savings and extra work. I painted the walls myself. I fixed the window with help from Mr. Lewis, my neighbor. I returned to my routine, my houses, my work, my independence. But something had changed in me. I was no longer the woman who stayed silent. I was no longer the woman who accepted humiliation to keep the peace. Kevin never called after the courthouse, not once. I didn't look for him either. Rose came to visit me twice a week. We drank coffee and talked about everything except Kevin. It was a name we no longer pronounced. Until one November afternoon, my phone rang. An unknown number. Mrs. Palmer, I'm Cesar Oliver from the bank. I need to speak with you about a situation involving your son. I felt my stomach clench. What happened? Your son, Kevin, attempted to use your house as collateral for a loan. Of course, he can't do it without your authorization, but I thought you should know. A loan? For how much? $150,000. The figure took my breath away. What does he need that much money for? I can't give you those details. I just wanted to inform you of the attempt. I hung up with trembling hands. $150,000. What had happened? What kind of trouble had Kevin gotten into? Over the next few weeks, I started hearing things, rumors. My neighbor Ellen told me she had seen Kevin's Mercedes being towed. Mr. Lewis mentioned that someone from the building where Kevin and Valerie lived had commented that they were moving to a smaller place. One afternoon, Rose came to my house with news. Nancy, you need to hear this. My friend works in the same building where Valerie has her office. She says the company fired her 3 months ago for embezzlement of funds. Valerie was fired. And there's a lawsuit. The company is looking to recover money she apparently stole. The pieces started to fit together. The desperate loan, the towed Mercedes, the move. I didn't feel satisfaction, only a deep sadness. Because I knew that eventually Kevin would come looking for me. And I was right. A month later, at 8 o'clock at night, there was a knock on my door. It was Kevin, alone, without Valerie. He looked terrible, thinner, with deep dark circles under his eyes. His clothes were wrinkled. He was no longer the clean-cut, successful man of months ago. "Mum," he said, his voice broken, "I need to talk to you." I wanted to close the door on him. I wanted to tell him to go away. But he was my son, and despite everything, he was still my son. "Come in." He sat on the same sofa where he had packed my things months ago. He put his head in his hands. "Everything fell apart," he finally said. "Everything." What happened? Valerie, she was stealing money from her company. For 2 years. I didn't know, Mum. I swear I didn't know. And now? Now she has a lawsuit. They could put her in jail. And me. I co-signed some of her financial moves, without knowing what she was doing. Now I'm implicated too. Mum, we lost everything. The car, the luxury apartment, the savings, everything. He looked up and I saw tears in his eyes. And she left me. As soon as things got difficult, Valerie left. She said she wasn't going to stay with a failure. I felt a mixture of emotions, pain for my son, rage for what he had done to me, a bitter satisfaction for the poetic justice. "And you come here why?" "Because I have no one else." His voice broke completely. "Mum, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry I treated you like that. I'm sorry I tried to take your house. I'm sorry I believed her lies about you. Do you feel sorry now? Now that she left you? Now that you lost everything? I've been sorry for months, since the day of the hearing, but I had too much pride to admit it. And then everything started falling apart and I didn't know how to come back to you. I remained silent, looking at him, this broken man who had been my boy, my son, my whole world for so many years. What do you want from me, Kevin? I don't know. Maybe just for you to know that I regret it, that I understand everything I did wrong, that I lost the most important person in my life for a woman who never truly loved me. Where are you living now? In a rented room? In the industrial zone? It's all I can afford with the little I have left. And the lawsuit. The lawyer says I can avoid jail if I cooperate, if I testify against Valerie, but I'll still have to pay fines, debts. It's going to take me years to recover. I took a deep breath. Kevin, what you did to me, what you both did to me, was one of the most painful things in my life. I know. You tried to declare me incompetent, steal my house, control my life. I know, Mum, and I have no excuse. Valerie manipulated me, yes, but I chose to listen to her. I chose to believe her more than you. That was my decision, and it was wrong. At least he had that honesty now, that acknowledgement. What did you expect to find here? I asked. I don't know. Maybe just forgiveness. I don't expect you to help me. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that you were right. About everything. About Valerie. About me. About what was happening. He stood up to leave. He walked toward the door. He put his hand on the doorknob. Kevin, I said. He stopped. Are you hungry? He turned around. In his eyes I saw surprise, hope, the fear of hoping. Mum, you don't have to. I asked if you are hungry. Yes, I'm hungry. Sit down. I'll make something. While I cooked in my small kitchen, I felt his gaze on me. The silence between us was full of everything unsaid, of all the pain, of all the betrayal, but also of something else, of the possibility of something new. I served him a plate of simple food, chicken and rice, the same thing I used to make him when he was a child. Kevin ate in silence. I watched the tears fall onto his plate. Mum, he finally said, I don't deserve your kindness. No, you don't deserve it. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to give it to you. Why? Because I'm your mother, and despite everything that happened, you're still my son. I failed you. Yes, you failed me tremendously. Can you ever forgive me? I took my time to answer, because I wasn't going to lie to him. I wasn't going to tell him everything was okay when it wasn't. I don't know, Kevin. Forgiveness is something that takes time and trust, and you destroyed all my trust in you. I understand. But, I continued, I can give you the opportunity to rebuild it, little by little, with actions, not with words. What does that mean? It means that if you want to have a relationship with me again, it's going to be on my terms, with respect, with boundaries, without manipulation, without control. I accept anything. Don't say that now. Say it over time. Prove it. Kevin nodded. He finished his meal. He stood up to wash the plate. Leave that, I said. I'll do it later. Mom, please let me do something. I let him wash the plate. A small gesture, insignificant. but it was a start. Before he left, he stood at the door again. Can I visit you again? Call first. Ask. Don't assume. I will. And Kevin, if Valerie ever comes back into your life in any way, if you choose her again over the truth, over decency, over me, then it will be the last time you see me. Do you understand? I understand. And I promise you that won't happen. Valerie showed me who she really is, and I showed myself who I am when I follow the wrong person. He left. I watched him walk down the street from my window. His shoulders were slumped, his pace was slow. A man who had lost everything and was just beginning to understand the price of his decisions. I didn't feel victory. I didn't feel satisfaction seeing him down. I only felt a deep sadness for all the lost time, for all the unnecessary pain. But I also felt something else, something small but real. Hope. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday perhaps we could find our way back to each other. Or maybe not. And I had to be at peace with both possibilities. 8 months have passed since that night Kevin came to my door. 8 months of slow reconstruction, of small steps, of learning to trust again, or at least trying. Kevin called the following week. He asked if he could visit me. I told him yes. He came with a bouquet of flowers from the market, nothing luxurious, simple flowers that probably cost $5. But they were honest. We sat down for coffee. We talked about small things, the weather, his new job at a hardware store, how he was slowly paying off his debts. He didn't mention Valerie. I didn't ask either. The visits became regular, once a week, always calling first, always asking if it was a good time, always respectful. One day he brought tools and fixed the bathroom door that was sticking. Another day he helped me move a heavy piece of furniture, small gestures, actions that spoke louder than words. Rose greeted him coldly when she ran into him. She hadn't forgiven him. Maybe she never would. And I respected that. She had been there when no one else was. She had seen my pain up close. Are you sure about this? She asked me one afternoon after Kevin left. About letting him back into your life. I'm not sure about anything, I answered honestly. But he is my son, and if there is a possibility that he has learned, that he has truly changed, I want to give him that chance. But carefully, always carefully. In April, Kevin invited me to dinner at his rented room. It was a tiny space with a bed, a small table, and a 2-burner stove. So different from the luxury apartment where he had lived with Valerie. He made spaghetti, simple but well done. We ate at that small table, and for the first time in over a year, we talked for real, without tension, without masks. Did you hear anything about Valerie? I finally asked. It was the first time I had mentioned her name in months. Kevin put down his fork. She's in jail. She was sentenced to 4 years for fraud. I testified against her. It was harder than I thought. Do you still love her? No, I don't think I ever really loved her. I loved the idea of her, the status, the image, but the real person, the one I saw in the last few months, that person was a stranger, someone capable of destroying lives without blinking. Did she destroy you? No, Kevin said, looking directly at me. I destroyed myself. She just gave me the tools. I chose to use them. That honesty was new, painful, but real. And now what? I asked. Now I rebuild. I pay my debts. I work honestly. And I try to recover even a small piece of the relationship with my mother. If she allows me, I am allowing you. But Kevin, if you ever again, I won't. Mum, I learned the lesson the hardest way possible. I lost everything, my money, my reputation, my dignity. But the worst thing I lost was your trust. And I know that takes years to recover. Maybe I'll never fully recover it, but I'm going to try every day. In June, a letter arrived at Rose's apartment. It was from Valerie, from jail. I opened it with trembling hands. It was short. Nancy, I don't expect your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know that you were right about everything. I was a manipulator, a liar, a thief. I destroyed your son. I tried to destroy you, and now I'm paying the price. I'm not writing this to ask for pity. Just so you know that you won. Not because I lost, but because you never let me break you. That's something I could never understand. Your strength, your quiet dignity. I wish I had even a fraction of that. Valerie. I showed the letter to Rose. She read it and tore it into pieces. You don't need her validation, she said. You already knew all that. I know, but it was important for her to say it. Are you going to answer? No, there's nothing to say. And it was true. Valerie was part of a closed chapter, a painful chapter that had taught me a lot about boundaries, about strength, about the value of defending what is yours. In September, Kevin got a better job, as a supervisor at a construction company. He didn't earn a lot, but it was honest. He excitedly told me about his first day, like a child sharing achievements with his mother. And for the first time in a long time, I felt proud of him. Not for his salary or his position, but for his humility, for his ability to get up after hitting rock bottom. Mum, he told me that day, I want you to know something. I've been going to therapy for 5 months now. Therapy. To understand how I let Valerie manipulate me so much, to work on my own problems, on my need to impress, on how I confused love with control. I'm glad you're doing that. The therapist says that a part of me was always seeking your approval, but in the wrong ways, trying to show you that I was successful, rich, important, when what you really wanted was for me to be good, decent, honest. I always wanted that, I said with a soft voice. I never cared how much money you made. I only cared what kind of man you were. I know that now. I wish I had known it sooner. On my 61st birthday, Kevin showed up with a small cake from the neighborhood bakery. It wasn't luxurious. There weren't 80 guests, just him, Rose, and me in my living room. Rose still looked at him with suspicion. But when Kevin helped me blow out the candles and then insisted on serving the cake, I saw her expression soften a little. One more year, I said, looking at my living room, my house, my life that I had defended tooth and nail. A better year, Kevin said. And he was right. It was better. Not perfect, not without scars, but better. That night, after Kevin left and Rose returned to her house, I sat alone on my couch, the same couch where I had watched my son pack my things months ago, the same space where I had felt I was losing everything. But I hadn't lost everything. I had lost an illusion, the illusion of a perfect family, of a son who would always do the right thing. But I had gained something more valuable. I had gained the knowledge of my own strength, the certainty that I could defend my life, the peace of knowing that I didn't need anyone's approval to validate my existence. My phone rang. It was Kevin. Mum, I just wanted to say happy birthday again, and thank you for giving me this chance. You're welcome, son. Mum. Yes. I love you, and I know those words don't mean much after everything, but I'm going to prove it to you, every day, for the rest of my life if I have to. I know, Kevin. Good night. Good night. I hung up and looked around my house. The walls I had painted myself, the roof I had repaired, the furniture I had chosen, my space, my life, my dignity intact. I had been through the fire. I had been humiliated, attacked, almost destroyed. But I had survived. And more than surviving, I had come out stronger. I didn't know if I would ever fully forgive Kevin. I didn't know if our relationship would ever be what it was. Maybe yes, maybe no. But I had learned something fundamental. My value didn't depend on anyone else, not on my son, not on his approval, not on his presence in my life. I was enough. I always had been. I got up and walked to my bedroom. Tomorrow would be another day of work, of life, of moving forward. But this time, I would do it with my head held high, with the certainty that no one, ever again, would take away what was mine. Not my house, not my dignity, not my peace. Because I had learned the most important lesson of all. True strength doesn't shout. It doesn't fight for attention. It doesn't seek revenge. True strength simply endures, firm, quiet, unbreakable. And that strength was mine, forever. I closed my bedroom door, and for the first time in over a year, I slept deeply, without fear, without worry, without pain. Only with the peace of knowing that I had won the most important battle, the battle for my own soul, and no one could take that victory from me. Never.